It was the summer of 2015, and the small town of Cedarville was sweltering under the oppressive heat. Nestled deep in the English countryside, this quiet town lay about 2 hours' drive from London. The cobblestone streets and quaint old houses surrounded by thick woods and rolling fields gave the impression of peace and tranquility. However, beneath this calm facade, dark secrets and hidden tensions simmered, waiting to erupt. At the end of a secluded dirt road stood the aging-to-story house of the Thompson family. Michael Thompson, 44, was once a successful businessman. But after his construction company went bankrupt during the economic downturn, Michael's life took a downward spiral. He sank into a deep depression, turning to alcohol to cope with his failures. The once loving and devoted husband became angry and violent, venting his frustrations on his wife and son behind closed doors. Emily Thompson, aged 39, had once been a devoted elementary school teacher, gentle and kind-hearted. She had endured years of Michael's abuse in silence, trying to keep her family together for the sake of their only son, Ethan, who was 13. Ethan grew up in constant fear, frequently witnessing the violent arguments and physical abuse between his parents. Every night, he would hide in his room, covering his ears to block out the terrifying sounds coming from downstairs. One fateful night in mid-June, everything reached a breaking point. Michael stumbled home drunk as usual after spending the evening at his favorite pub. Staggering into the kitchen, he saw Emily preparing a late dinner. His eyes blazed with a sudden, irrational fury at the sight of the unfinished meal. "What the hell is this?" Michael bellowed, shoving her hard against the kitchen counter. Emily had grown used to his outbursts, but tonight, something was different. As Michael threw a punch, hitting her square on the cheek, Emily collapsed onto the floor, pain searing through her face. But instead of fear, a new emotion began to bubble up inside her anger, born from years of suppressed rage and despair. Michael turned back toward her, his eyes bloodshot and his words slurred with alcohol. He grabbed her hair, yanking her up with the intent to strike again. In that split second, Emily's hand reached for the counter behind her and grasped a small fruit knife. Without thinking, driven purely by instinct and desperation, she turned and plunged the knife into Michael's abdomen. His eyes widened in shock as blood began to seep from the wound. He staggered, trying to speak, but no words came out. Within moments, he collapsed to the floor, lifeless. Emily stood there, panting heavily, the knife still in her trembling hand. She realized, with a cold and sudden clarity, that she had crossed a line that could never be undone. In a moment of panic, she knew she had to dispose of Michael's body. If she were caught, she would lose everything, especially her son Ethan. Quickly, she dragged Michael's body out to the shed in the backyard, where they stored garden supplies. There, she found a can of petrol Michael used for the lawnmower. Heart racing, Emily doused the body with petrol and set it alight. Flames erupted into the night sky, casting an eerie glow over the backyard as Emily watched, tears streaming down her face. She prayed that the fire would destroy everything, allowing her and Ethan to start anew, free from the years of torment. However, Michael's disappearance did not go unnoticed. A few days later, his family grew concerned when they couldn't reach him. Michael had always kept in regular contact with his younger brother, but now his phone was dead. Growing more suspicious, his brother decided to visit the Thompson home, only to be met with vague excuses from Emily, who claimed that Michael had left on a business trip. But her nervous demeanor only fueled his suspicions, leading him to report Michael's disappearance to the police. Detective William Parker, a seasoned investigator, was assigned to the case. As he arrived at the Thompson household, he immediately sensed something was amiss. Despite Emily's attempts to appear calm, her eyes betrayed her unease. Parker began his investigation by questioning the neighbors and speaking to Ethan. Under the pressure of police questioning, young Ethan finally revealed that his father had never left the house after that fateful night. The boy, trembling with fear, confessed that he had heard screams and the sound of something crashing in the kitchen. Ethan's testimony became the first major breakthrough in the investigation. When Parker and his team searched the backyard, they discovered a pile of ashes and charred fabric remnants. A forensic analysis revealed traces of petrol and organic material. Confronted with the evidence and the contradictions in her story, Emily was brought in for further questioning. After hours of intense interrogation, her resolve crumbled, and she broke down, confessing to everything. She explained the years of abuse she had endured and how, in a moment of panic, she had acted to protect herself and her son. The trial was swift and became the talk of the town. Emily's lawyer argued that she had acted in a state of psychological trauma after enduring years of domestic abuse. Despite the evidence, many in the town were sympathetic to her plight. In the end, the court sentenced Emily to 15 years in prison, though with mitigating factors due to the years of abuse she had suffered. Ethan was sent to live with his aunt, where he would hopefully begin to heal from the horrors he had witnessed. Detective William Parker stood outside the now empty Thompson house, staring at the darkening sky. He couldn't shake the thought of how many more families were suffering in silence, hidden behind closed doors. How many more tragedies like this would it take before real change could happen?